Thank you so much for joining me today on Senior Fitness with Meredith. So today what I'm going to do for our learning level video is to go through some simple stretches you can do in bed before you get up and start your busy day. I always like to talk about them when we do our podcasts and things. Make sure you stretch in bed. If you have the availability, stretch in bed. But what do I mean by that? What are some good ones we can do? Well, I'm going to show you a few today, so I'll meet you back here. So our laying in bed stretches. So when I say that, a lot of times we don't have the availability to stay in our bed for a good 5 minutes to get some nice stretches in before we pop up and get our day going. If you have the option to get up, maybe use the restroom and get back into bed for a few minutes, that's perfect. These are also nice stretches to just do throughout the day. Again, I say laying in bed, it's a nice high surface you can easily get on and get off. If the availability is there and you like to go to a harder surface and you can carefully get down onto the floor and carefully get back up, that's an option for you as well. Just always know your limitations, what your mobility is, and what is best for you each and every day. Remembering that every day is different. So again, I'm going to show you these stretches. Doesn't mean they're all going to be comfortable for you. You do them at your discretion and see which ones you like. Implement them into your daily stretches. So we'll start laying all the way down. They'll all be laying down. So say we're laying in bed. Legs are nice and long. Even when you're doing this stretch or any of them, feel as if you're pressing your lower back down into your bed or the surface that you're on. You don't want that high arch of your lower back coming up because we're just putting more pressure on the lower back. Feel as if you're pressing it down. So legs are nice and long. If it's available to you, arms go overhead and you feel as if you're being pulled from two different directions, out from your toes, out from your fingers, lengthening the entire body. Everything is stretching out and you breathe into that stretch as you hold it. Deep inhales, deep exhales. If it gets to be too much, release it. Trying to hold it for about 10 seconds. Release it. Do it again. Stretch out. You'll notice that each time you do it, especially if you do them in the morning, you'll start to warm up the body little by little, and you'll get deeper into your stretches the more times that you go through and do them. So that first one, you want to be kind of gentle on the body, lengthening it out. Release it down. Little breath. And then again, lengthen the body back out. Holding for about 10 seconds, 2 to 3 rounds, whatever you have time for, what feels best for you. Next stretch, if it's available to you, you bring both of those knees in towards your chest and just hug them in. Even give a little rock to those legs, side to side, releasing your lower back. With the knees into the chest, we're getting a good stretch in our gluteals and our lower back. If both knees coming into chest is not available, one foot stays down, pull one in. Doesn't have to be big range of motion. If you can only lift it up a little because you're super tight through your hip flexor and your gluteals, then just doing that head can come up off the ground and shoulders and gently pulling it in, deepening that stretch. Over time, you'll notice it's gonna get loosened up even more and you'll be able to keep the head and shoulders down and pull that leg in. Make sure you're doing both sides if you can only do one at a time or have both knees into the chest. Next thing, allowing those knees to fall to one side. Chest stays up towards the sky as you allow those knees to fall over. Again, they may only fall a tiny bit. If the availability is there in your hip, your gluteals, and your spine, remember, be aware of that lower back and any issues that you have. Do what feels best. Allowing them to fall, trying to keep the chest up towards the sky, opening up through that opposite shoulder. You'll feel that great stretch in the lower back, the spine, the gluteals and hip. Doing that, holding that, again, 10 to 15 seconds if it's comfortable. Bringing those legs back up to center, and again, letting them release over. 2 to 3 rounds. One side, make sure you do the other side. If you are only bringing one knee into your chest, this is where I would say try to lengthen out that opposite leg. That knee that's in is going to go across the body, so you're still getting that same stretch. Doesn't have to be a big range of motion. Even this little bit, I'm keeping a bend in that lengthened leg. I'm only pulling slightly over. I can feel gluteals, hip, and lower back all stretching. That's what I want. I want you to hold it, feel it, breathe into it, release. Again, you do both sides, right and left, 2 to 3 rounds, holding 10 to 15 seconds. So after you do that one, now we'll bring those feet in. Pelvic tilt. Like I told you from the beginning, we're trying to keep that lower back down onto our bed or surface that we decide to lay on, pressing your lower back down. You'll feel the pelvis pick up a little bit. So it's almost a little scoop. Your hips come up, your gluteals come up a little bit because you're forcing with your abdominals to press your lower back down into the ground. Holding that 10 to 15 seconds, release it. Feel that difference. We think our lower back and our spine is pressed into the floor. As soon as we do that pelvic tilt, we engage the abdominals, we press our lower back down, breathe into that, engaging the core, lengthening and strengthening before we get up out of bed. And we'll do our bridges. Feet stay down, knees stay bent. Now we're bringing those hips up towards the sky. So press them up towards the sky, squeeze your gluteals, feel that length and stretch through your abdominals and spine. Holding that, your hands can just stay down by your side and releasing. Again, 10 to 15 seconds if you can. Range of motion might be smaller. Little lift off the ground is perfect. You're squeezing, you're engaging, and release. That's your bridge. So, still laying down on our bed, all I want you to do is alternate bringing your foot up towards the sky. Leg extension, release. Leg extension. A lot of times when we first get out of bed, our knees say, whoo, it's been a long night of laying in bed. You feel that pressure on your knees. Get some mobility in them before you get up out of bed. So just extending up and down. Again, 10 to 15 on each side. Get that blood circulating in the lower body. And then we'll take each one at a time. Just lift it up and circle the foot around. Doing that ankle mobility movement. And a lot of times when we have those stiff ankles, especially early in the morning, we start to get this movement. We move from our knee joint. Really, really be aware of that. That knee stays in place. If you have to hold it and focus on just the ankle and foot moving around. This is one that if you have the availability, if you're sitting up in bed and you manually have to move your foot around, which is sometimes what we have to do to get that movement, do that. So you're not doing the movement from the knee joint. Ankle mobility, range of motion. One side, of course, do the other side, both directions. Clockwise, counterclockwise. And then we'll do the same thing with our wrists. Circle those hands around. Get the fingers, wrists, and forearms ready for movement. Both directions. And we're just going to do some extensions from our elbow where we just open and close our arms. Again, this is waking up the body, getting it ready, because as soon as we get up, we get right into our day. And then we'll let our arms release down. Let's focus on our neck. So just turning your head side to side. If you have any issues with vertigo, dizziness, this is not available to you. Do not do it. Head comes center, looking back to the back of your bed, and then trying to look down towards your toes or knees. Looking up, looking down. Just again, a couple of those. If they feel comfortable, working on range of motion and stretching in your neck. So there are your stretches for laying in bed. Again, if it's available to you, they're perfect to do when you first wake up in the morning to get the body warmed up, woken up, and ready for you to take on your day and maybe do a workout later on with me. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.